You're listening to Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Join us as we explore how medical professionals can achieve stellar success in all areas of life. It's time to level up.
Hello, everyone. We're back at Stellar Success Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tudor Francu, and I have a great guest today from California, Louanne Giangreco. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for being on today. We're going to start very short with a sequence of your success, so to speak. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you start in your career? What's your journey and where are you now?
So my background, I'm an emergency medicine physician and started in the emergency department and really developed an interest in the system. So in the emergency department, we see a lot of what happens on the outpatient side and has an impact on what we see in the emergency department and within the hospital as well, affects our patient flow. So it kind of sparked an interest in quality of how do we really create some great systems to be able to support our patients and to support the teams that care for them. So within that, in my career, I've been able to move into a variety of different roles, looking at quality and leadership to really build those systems and support people. And I've done that work within health systems, within health plans, within startup companies as well to really look at how we can improve healthcare.
Very interesting. So you're the little engine behind this whole process, so to speak. What do you think success means for you? And why are you doing what you're doing?
So success means to me living in alignment with my values. So really that importance of improving the health and well-being of the communities that we serve and being in alignment with that kind of theory of the quintuple aim also from IHI, thinking about how do we improve health of populations? How do we create a great experience for our patients? How do we take care of our care teams? How do we make sure we do that with a health equity lens? And how do we make sure that we're reducing cost along the way?
Very interesting. Okay. So let's go over a little bit about your journey and starting with emergency room care. I'm sure you've seen a lot. It's a specialty that throws you into the action right away. And I'm sure you probably had some experiences in the emergency room that make you think, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Um, Everything that probably didn't go the right way or your way, and you learn from it. Can you give us an example of such things?
Well, I think one of the things that sparked my interest in becoming a leader was a particular patient and her husband. And they were just a lovely couple. And due to some of her health challenges, they were in the emergency department almost every other night. So she had some challenges. She would get nervous. He cared so much for her. And, but with that, they ended up in the emergency department because they didn't have a solid care plan to kind of take them through, if something did happen or having extra support at home to be able to keep them at home. And, they were one of the patient stories that really sparked my interest in how do we really create a better system that keeps people at home with their family, but provides them with the support they need to be able to, to have the best health possible.
Interesting. So why was this couple there in the emergency room for?
She had a number of different chronic health issues too, and when she felt short of breath, secondary to some of her health issues, she got nervous, and then he became nervous, and they called 911.
I see. Also, can you give us an example of a big win in your career that kind of pushed you forward and you thought there was a big landmark in your professional career?
So I think one of the big landmarks of my career is when I was able to take a team of about 50 health professionals from upstate New York down to New York City at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So we recognized, we didn't have COVID cases in our community. There was a big need down in New York City. We were at the point where we had closed off, elective surgeries at that point too. We were seeing less people in our clinics, and we were facing the possibility of furloughs. And so we wanted to do something that would help to serve another community, but would also help to preserve jobs within our own community too. And so what we did is, within a week, kind of came up with the idea, was able to work with Partner Hospital down in New York City. Had a call to action to our team to see who would be interested in being a part of our deployment team down into New York. Had all the logistics planned, and we brought the team down. Had an amazing nursing partner as well, and we were able to navigate the system and making sure, housing was in place, that things were set up in New York, that our teams were well supported, and we spent a month down in New York City caring for COVID patients.
Yeah, that was a tough time for New York City, and I remember the chaos that was those days in that city. It was unbelievable, and a lot of people suffer from that. But you seem to take a lot of risks in doing what you're doing. How do you deal with those kind of risks in your profession?
I think that, going into risks in a structured way. So I think it's an approach you jump in. There needs to be some planning behind that risk and really truly understanding, um, what benefit could come from that as well as some of the risk, and really kind of starting to create some structure and process behind that with teams. So I'm fortunate that I have an opportunity to really break people when I take a risk, to be able to make that jump and to make that leap, that I have an understanding of what the risk truly is behind it, and then, making it happen. I think sometimes with things that feel risky, it's easy to really catastrophize about what really could be that worst case scenario. But when we really kind of plan it out, we realize there's actually a lot more safety net within the system for us to do the work that we do.
Yeah, very interesting. So what are some things that you're focusing around? How do you think you improved the emergency room care at this point?
So at this point, I've actually, kind of come out of the emergency department, and I'm helping a federally qualified health center as an interim chief medical officer, and looking at some of their infrastructure and how to make sure they're well supported with great teams, great processes in place to be able to care for patients, which does ultimately have an impact on the emergency department too. So how do we build the systems that prevent unnecessary emergency department visits? So in my last, several positions that I've had have been worked outside of the emergency department to have that impact within the emergency department.
One of the things that recently happened in the market is the abundance of urgent care centers, very spread out little places where you can go and get your, flu taken care of, your cough, your little complaints that you have. So it is mine that those things kind of relieve the emergency room, the hospital, the emergency rooms in general. But how do you see this kind of competition in the market right now with this type of businesses that are everywhere?
I think that there is some competition in the market, and I think there's consolidation happening too within the urgent care market that's going to have a big impact. And I think with some of that consolidation, there's some opportunity as well. So to your point, you classically think of the urgent care as being a setting where your upper respiratory infections or sinusitis or twisted ankle, we may be seeing those patients. But as there's been more stress and strain on the system, as there's less primary care availability, as the emergency departments are becoming more filled and there's more pressures there, as we have workforce challenges, also, there's a big opportunity in this space to not only think about that acute episodic care, but to start to think about the concept of truly having accessible primary care to people. So when an individual is ready, when they have specific needs in terms of preventative care and some chronic condition management too. How can there be some easily accessible care for people to have to better manage their high blood pressure, to make sure that they have their colorectal cancer screening done so that we're, again, meeting people where they're at to be able to promote better health and well being.
Yeah, I think most of the people can relate to the fact that whenever you have an issue at home, you have basically two choices. Either you wait for an appointment for your primary care physician, which could be weeks or months from that time. So it's not really an emergency care. Or you go to one of those urgent care centers that can see you right away, but they cannot do much. Some of them don't even have x-rays on site. Or you go to the nearest hospital and you wait hours and hours to be seen. How do you solve these issues with your perspective?
I think that, well, I think we're really at an exciting time in medicine too, as we think about AI and what AI brings to the table and can help individuals to make their own healthcare decisions too in terms of where to triage themselves. Is this something that I can wait to see my primary? Is this something I should go to an urgent care? Or should I go to the emergency department? Because there's a possibility that there could be an emergency here. So, how are we empowering people with technology and AI? And I think there's lots of future growth there. I still think there's room for telehealth in this model too, as we think about meeting people where they're at home to address some of those needs too. And, there's some conditions that, we classically thought, well, gosh, you need to be really seen in person, but we're learning more and more, maybe you don't, and that there's an opportunity to be able to address things for telehealth. There's more things like peripherals that are coming into play where you can look in ears and throats, listen to heart and lungs. I know of a company that's starting up to look at if you use a camera that you're able to help to differentiate could it be strep throat or not by a picture in a validated way versus giving an unnecessary antibiotic. So I think there's a lot more that's going to happen in the technology space to be able to help us. I think urgent cares are going to continue to kind of expand in that. What does accessible primary care look like, and how do we meet people where they're at? And then, continuing to reserve the emergency department for truly those emergency situations.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think the technology approach is a hope for everyone to improve medical care in general. And I think everybody's waiting for that. There's not an easy road ahead because of some major privacy issues also. Um, do you have any implications in how your um, vision is in regards to combining the access to those technologies and also preserve the privacy of their patients?
So I think we're going to have to be really mindful of how we iterate in that space. I think there's some really great minds who are thinking about things in terms of healthcare and AI as well. How do we make sure things are protected? How do we make sure they're safe? How do we make sure there's not bias within the models too? And finding that balance between in-person and human care and how we as physicians or other healthcare professionals kind of come to the table to be able to support that technology to make sure it's safe. And it kind of goes back again to that quintuple aim that it's safe with a good experience, that it's improving health and well-being at a lower cost and is equitable and is a good experience for the people who take care of the people.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's backtrack a little bit, and I want to talk more about your personal vision on your career. What do you think the skills and habits that you formed along the way helped you being where you are right now?
I would say, resiliency is a key value and a key skill. I think sometimes when we look into people and their careers and even what we see on things like LinkedIn, it looks like, gosh, it's so easy to jump into those spaces and it looks like it's so easy to do that work. But it's really getting up every day and kind of being in that and continuing to learn and have that really learn it all kind of approach to the work that we do, to be resilient in the work that we do, to learn from our failures, to, celebrate for a moment those successes as well, and to keep figuring out where are there potential gaps and where can I potentially fill in some of those gaps, or where do I need extra support too in my network to be able to help me to be successful.
Okay. So are there any habits or routines that you frequently employ in your life to get you to this kind of success?
So I think a couple things. So I do believe in the power of coaching too. of having somebody who's there to be able to provide that additional support, and so much to the point that I became a coach myself, that I ended up taking a leadership and performance coaching program to learn those skills, to be able to help my teams, and to be able to help others who are up and coming in their careers as well. So I definitely am a strong believer in coaching. I do think it goes back to some of those basics that we tell our patients too, and can feel the difference when you exercise during the course of a day or not, and how that really helps to mitigate stress. So the importance of movement, finding some balance and joy, connecting with others, being mindful also, and kind of those are those challenging habits that again we kind of have to lace up our shoes every day, literally sometimes, and make sure that we're doing to care for ourselves.
Yeah, that's very important. I agree with you. I think coaching and mentorship are essential for anyone's success, and I think especially in the healthcare industry, there's new trends that are coming up, either in patient care or technology, are not easy to master. And you need someone who can hold your hands a little bit, for a while to learn all this little details. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that the medical world it's very strained. I would say insurance payments to patients, co-insurances and co-pays, and even for doctor salaries. And one of the things that I encounter a lot is the people like us that are thinking about different passive income streams to supplement their retirement goals, or the burnout phase. How do you think about this in your personal career? And are there any kind of investments or avenues that you use to supplement your incomes?
So I think that just kind of basic and making sure that, you have that fiscal kind of sustainability of just having like a really great portfolio too that provides that support that with compounding interest and growing along the way and taking it of your retirement funds. I also do have some real estate as well. So thinking about real estate as a potential income stream, finding that balance too, because sometimes we think of real estate as passive, but sometimes it's not passive as things come up in your property, managing your properties and coming up with some of the that always tend to fall, and there's other things happening in life too. So knowing it's somewhat of a passive income stream, but it also is an active business line as well. And then thinking about where there's other opportunities like coaching and consulting to be able to supplement work.
Yeah, the kind of real estate domains are you interested in that you mentioned?
Yeah, so I have it's more small. So I have a 2 unit home that I rent out in a college town, and I rent out a previous residence that I lived in as well.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, obviously, you said the passive the passive word is not really passive. Sometimes it's very active because it involves your presence and your decision making process, unless you outsource it to someone else. But it's still a good income supplement for everybody, and a lot of tax advantages too. In some cases. So if you if you would have the mind experience that you have right now, and you would look back into your past when you started, what kind of advice would you give to yourself?
That is a fantastic question. I think I would well, I think early on in my career, I expected things to kind of progress more quickly, and I thought I was ready for steps earlier than I probably was ready for different steps along the way. So I think just having patience and being able to learn through some of the experiences was so key to be able to kind of take that next leap or take that next step. And if I had jumped, I would have really missed some really key learnings that helped me to kind of connect the dots or help me to solve different challenges now that I didn't know about in the past. It's so challenging to kind of because even things that didn't feel like a moment or felt like more of a challenge are still that kind of have helped me now to be able to make decisions and make different choices that if I had lost, then I wouldn't have that kind of deep experience that have brought me where I am now. So I think kind of just having patience and having some faith in the system too, that you're where you need to be, that your experience is just leading to more knowledge, more grace down the line.
Excellent. That's great. That's great. Any goals, projects, anything that you for the future?
Yeah. So I'm always excited by coaching and the opportunity to connect with people and use some of my coaching tools and skills to be able to help them on their journey. But it's so interesting also to kind of be there with somebody else on their journey and just, see some of the parallel things that happen across different careers. So looking forward to kind of continuing in that space. I do think we're really at a pivotal time in healthcare too with workforce challenges, with emerging technology and AI. And so I think healthcare in 5 to 10 years is going to look a lot different than it does right now because of some of those pressures. So being here in this moment to be able to be a part of that, to be a part and to help to build the change for the future, I think is really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're up for in our profession. I think a lot of people will need to either adjust, change, or kind of mold into what's coming up. Because if you think 10 years back or even 15 years back, we barely had internet. And now we're talking about AI and, you know, um, robots and all these kind of things that are going to push in an exponential way the way we practice medicine.
Absolutely agree. I think, we have a perception that, medicine happening within four walls or health happening within four walls. But I think health and medicine is going to expand into a broader world too in a different way. So it's very exciting as we think about that and how it relates to population health.
Yeah, definitely. How is how can everybody can get to you, learn more about what you're doing and your projects?
Absolutely. So I am on LinkedIn and I welcome connections through LinkedIn. I also have my website. It's www.louannemd.com and welcome connections there as well.
Awesome. Very nice. Well, thank you for coming over. I think it's a very interesting interview, and people will learn more about you from this one. And I hope we can maybe circle back later on and see what you're up to.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you today.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Interested in joining us? Go to stellarsuccesspodcast.com/guest to apply. Stay stellar and level up.